Hey folks, Eric here, trying to answer some questions that we get from clients on a day-to-day basis. One of the questions that we often get in our sex abuse, sex assault cases is, please tell me how long this is going to take. And I find that with my sex abuse or sex assault clients, this is a really, really important question. No less so than the others, but to them it seems to be a little bit more important because they have endured this trauma ever since the initial assault. So they don't want to keep reliving this every single day. So we try and be as honest with them as possible. And I'm going to do that with you today. Sex assault and sex abuse cases are a really unique case because they take a lot of care in determining who is at fault and how to prove it. Unfortunately, what we see a lot of are kind of he said, she said situations, and then who is going to be responsible, who can be held responsible for the conduct of the one who caused the assault or caused the abuse. So on a timeline, if you think about how long it's going to take, coming up with a good legal theory that's going to support the allegations takes a little bit of time. Doing some research, really investigating what the law is and how far we can go holding people responsible for sexual abuse and sexual assault claims. That could take upwards of 6 months. Just making sure that we have the right people, the right allegations, the right framing of these claims. Then we get into a situation where we've got to make sure that there are witnesses that are willing to talk to us. Unfortunately, what we often find in these cases is, yes, there are other people who know, but their willingness to come forward and state what they know under oath may not be something that they really want to do. In fact, most people don't want to do that. They want to stay uninvolved. That takes a little time. That's usually done at the same time that you're doing the investigation. So it's not really an addition to the time frame, but it's an additional piece that we really need to take care of in doing it right. Usually at that point, you're ready to file. There's not a whole lot of records that you need to go review. There's not a whole lot of experts that you need to consult to make sure that this is a case. If there are experts needed, that's usually done with that first investigation period. So you can get those filed pretty quickly. Then, if we want to go ahead and file a lawsuit, that's when we do it after the investigation is complete. You're probably looking at somewhere about 8 months after initially contacting a lawyer. That'd be a good time frame. Now, listen, there are exceptions. There could be cases that it comes in and you file it almost immediately. It's pretty rare, but it can happen. And there are other cases it takes longer to do the lawsuit, but usually that's a sweet spot, about 8 months. Then you get into what we find in our trial system, our civil justice system. It takes a while for this case that was just filed to work its way through the system. Understand, most states, they put the oldest cases on top of the judge's docket, meaning the oldest cases on his or her list are going to be tried first. So if you just filed your lawsuit, you're going to be all the way at the bottom of this list. And that list could contain somewhere between 300, 400, 500 cases. It could be criminal cases, it could be family law matters, it's your case, other civil matters. So it's going to take time for it to work its way up to the top of the list. Once there, you're going to have a trial. It's usually going to take about a week, maybe a week and a half, depending on the number of witnesses and the issues involved. All told, this usually takes about 2 to 4 years to work from the very beginning of the investigative process all the way to a jury trial or mediation. We'll talk about mediation in a later episode. So I hope this answers your question. If it doesn't, you have something more specific, please just hit subscribe, reach out to us, and we'll be glad to answer it as best we can. Thanks for tuning in.